Hi 5th grade, it's Mrs. Gilka with your flipped math lesson for today, 11-6. Today's objective is I can multiply mixed numbers. So we've been working on multiplying fractions. Today we're going to multiply mixed numbers together. Here's our first problem. A clothing factory can make 2 3/4 jackets per hour. How many jackets can it make in 7.5 hours? So first, I need to figure out what it's asking me to do. It's asking me to find out how many jackets can it make in 7.5 hours when it can make 2 3/4 jackets per hour. So I know my important information is 2 3/4 jackets per hour, and then we're going to multiply that times 7.5. So here's my problem, 2 3/4 times 7.5. Well, first I need to change these mixed numbers into improper fractions before I can multiply. Do not try to multiply them until you have changed them into mixed numbers. Into improper fractions. Otherwise, you're going to get an incorrect answer. So first, I'm going to multiply 2 times 4. That's going to equal 16. It's going to equal 8. I've got something going on behind me. It's distracting me. 2 times 4 equals 8. Then I'm going to add on the 3 to get 11/4. So you can see down here I have 11/4, which equals 2 3/4. Then I'm going to change 7.5. I multiply 7 times 2, that equals 14. I add on the 1, that's going to equal 15 halves. So down below you can see I changed that to 15 halves. Now I can multiply 11/4 times 15 halves. I'm going to multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So 11 times 15. I don't know 11 times 15 in my head, so I have to multiply it out. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 1 is 5. Put my placeholder. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Add them up, and I get 5, 6, 165 from my numerator times over 4 times 2, which equals 8. Now I have a improper fraction. I need to change that back by simplifying it into a mixed number. So I'm going to take 165 and divide it by 8. So 8 goes into 16 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract that, I'm going to get 0. Bring down the 5. 5 can be divided by 8 0 times. 0 times 8 is 0. Subtract that. I'm going to get 5 as my remainder, but I'm going to put it over my denominator. So I've got 20 and 5/8. So my 5 here, that remainder of 5, remember we don't do that anymore. We put that 5 over the denominator 8. Okay, so we get 20 and 5/8 is our final answer. Okay, so here are the steps to multiply mixed numbers. The first step is to change the mixed number to an improper fraction. That's what the IMP means, improper fraction. Then, after you've done that, you're going to multiply as usual and then simplify as usual. So it's not too much harder. It just adds that step of changing the mixed number to an improper fraction first. Okay, let's practice. 2 3/4 times 8. Now, before I start, something I could do is use my number sense and think about what would be a good estimate for this. So I know what my answer is going to be close to. I know 2 3/4 is close to 3. So 3 times 8 is going to equal 24. So my answer is probably going to be close to 24. Let's find out. Okay, first thing I do is change that that mixed number to an improper fraction. Multiply 2 times 4 to get 8, plus 3 is 11, and that equals 11/4. Keep the same denominator. Times 8. Now 8 is going to go over 1 as usual. That's what we do when we have a whole number. To make it a fraction, put it over 1. And now I can multiply. So I can multiply 11 times 8 is 88 over 4. Then I can divide 88 divided by 4. I know 8 goes or 4 goes into 8 2 times, so it's going to be 22. So my final answer is 22. My estimated answer was 24, so I'm pretty close. Number 2. 4 1/2 times 1 1/4. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 2 to get 8. Then I'm going to add on 1, and that's going to equal 9 halves. Okay, so down here, I'm going to rewrite that as 9 halves. Like putting those arrows so I can show the change. I'm going to multiply that times 1 1/4. So first I multiply 1 times 4, that equals 4, plus 1 more, that'll equal 5 fourths. So I'll draw my arrow to show my change, 5 fourths. Now I multiply the numerators and the denominators. So we'll multiply 9 times 5 to equal 45, and 2 times 4 to equal 8. So now I have 45 eighths. So I'm going to do my division over here, 45 divided by 8. So I know 6 times 8 is 48, so it must be 5. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract, and 45 minus 40 is 5. So my remainder is 5, so I make it a fraction, 5 eighths. So my final answer is 5 and 5 eighths. So I'd want a nice place to write that so I can show that nice and big. 5 and 5 eighths. Number 3. 4 1/4 times 2 3/4. I changed this mixed number to an improper fraction by multiplying 4 times 4 to get 16 plus 1 more to equal 17. So I've got 17 fourths, keep the same denominator, times 2 3/4. So I'm going to change 2 times 4 to get 8 plus 3 more equals 11. Keep the same denominator, fourths. Now I have 11 fourths. Okay, now I'm going to be multiplying those numbers together. I'm looking for cross simplification. I don't see any, so I'm going to have to multiply. I know my denominators, 4 times 4 is going to be 16. My numerators, 17 times 11, I don't know off the top of my head, so I have to multiply it out. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 1 is 1. Put down my placeholder. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 1 is 1. Add them together. 7, 8, 1. 187 sixteenths. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know 187 sixteenths off the top of my head, so I'm going to have to make some room to divide. Whoops, let's not do it there. 187 divided by 16. So I can put 16 into 18 one time. 1 times 16 is 16. Subtract. 18 minus 16 is 2. Pull down the 7. Now 16 cannot go into 27 more than one time, because I know 16 times 2 is 32. So it has to be 1 up here on my quotient. 1 times 16 is 16. Subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. So I get 11 sixteenths is my remainder. So my final answer is 11 and 11 sixteenths. And I want to box my answer so I can find it. Alright, your turn. Solve the problems while you pause the video and then check your answers to see if you got them right. 3 4/5 times 5. Okay, so I know 3 4/5 is really close to 4, and 4 times 5 would be 20. So I know it's going to be close to 20. So I changed 3 4/5, and I got 19 fifths when I changed it. And then 5, I just put it over 1. I did some cross simplification, and I divided 5 by 5 and changed those to 1. Then I multiplied across the numerators and the denominators, and I got 19 firsts, which equals 19. So my final answer is 19. Number 5. 4 2/3 times 4. Okay, so I changed 4 2/3 into 14 thirds, and then I took the 4 and put it over 1 to make it a fraction. multiplied the numerators, 14 times 4, and that equaled 56. 3 times 1 equals 3. Then I took 56 and divided it by 3 over here, and I got 16 and 2/3 as my final answer. Now, if I look at the problem, I've got 4 and 2/3, that's close to 5, times 4, that's going to equal 20. That's fairly close to 16 and 2/3, which is really close to 17. So that's a pretty good estimate. Number 6, 1 3/5 times 2 1/4. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is kind of look at the problem and see that 1 3/5 is pretty close to 2, and 2 1/4 is pretty close to 2. So I'm going to multiply that together. 2 times 2 equals 4. So my estimated answer is that it's going to be close to 4. I change 1 3/5 and change that to improper fraction 8/5. Change 2 1/4 to the improper fraction 9/4. Then before I multiplied, I cross simplified here. Got rid of the 4 by dividing by 4 and got 1, and 8 divided by 4 equals 2. Then I just had to multiply the numerators. 2 times 9 equals 18, and 5 times 1 equals 5 to get 18/5. Then I divide 18 divided by 5, and that equals 3 3/5, which is awfully close to my estimated answer of 4. Number 7, 3 1/7, I think that's a 7. 3 1/7 times 1 1/4. Okay, so first I can estimate and see that I've got 3 1/7, that's close to 3, and I'm going to multiply that times 1 1/4, that's close to 1, so my answer is going to be close to 3 times 1, that equals 3. So that's my estimated answer. Let's find out how I did. 3 1/7 can change to 22/7. 1 1/4 changes to 5/4. Now before I multiplied, I cross-simplified. I saw 4 and 22 can both be divided by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 22 divided by 2 is 11. Then I multiplied the numerators. 11 times 5, that equals 55. And 7 times 2 equals 14. So that leaves us with 55/14. Need to change that back to a mixed number. 55 divided by 14 equals 3. And then I get a remainder of 13/14, I think. I'm pretty sure. 13/14. So that is my final answer, and that's close to 4. My estimated answer was 3, so that's pretty close. Alright, number 8. I believe this is the last one. 1 1/2 times 3 5/6. Okay, so first I'm going to estimate 1 1/2, that's close to 2, and then 3 5/6, that is close to 4. So I've got 2 times 4 is going to equal about 8. Now this one's tricky because if I estimate 1 1/2 being closer to 1, and then 1 times 4 would be 4. So you can see there's a big difference between 4 and 8. So let's say it's going to be somewhere in the middle, probably close to 6 then. Alright, so I've got 1 1/2. I changed that to improper fraction 3/2, and 3 5/6 changes to the improper fraction 23/6. Before I multiply, I want to cross simplify. So I divided 3 and 6 by 3, and 3 divided by 3 is 1, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Then I multiply the numerators. 1 times 23 is 23, and 2 times 2 is 4. Then I divide 23 divided by 4, and I'm going to get 5 with a remainder of 3, and put that over 4. So 5 3/4, and that is very close to my estimated answer of 6. Alright guys, you are finished. See you later. Have a great night.